early returns, how good the 2024 quarterback draft class looks like it might be. We're talking about an all-timer, historically
yes, indeed.
significant. Bo Nix last year was the second best to Jayden Daniels statistically. Denver gets to the playoffs. He had a Rookie of the Year caliber season. Daniels did something that was unprecedented. And so those two guys kind of came into the season based on the numbers as the top two out of last year. But if you watched Caleb Williams, he showed major signs that he can play in the league, and you got to iron out some inconsistencies. I've always been a huge Drake May guy, and I thought with a terrible situation and an imposter as a head coach to start last year and no talent around him and a bad offensive line, if you watched him at all, you said this guy is going to be a stud. And already this year, he's been fantastic, and there's people that think if you were going to take one quarterback of all these young guys, the debate is him and Jayden right now, right? And so you throw in Caleb Williams, you throw in Michael Penix, so I think it's a little further behind to this point.
Yeah, I would say so.
You would have known it.
And then McCarthy, not against Washington, thank you.
If he got to play Washington every week, they'd all be looking up at him.
Yep.
And J.J. McCarthy is in last just because it's the least amount of time. He's been hurt all of last year, now most of this year, and when he did play, he struggled.
And Bo Nix was so good last year, probably second place behind Jayden.
But that said, all of these guys have done enough, I would say, in fleeting moments. And McCarthy, it was more in the preseason, to be fair, where you look at them and you go, if that guy becomes the answer for that organization, I will not be surprised. If that guy becomes a 10-year starter in the NFL, that would make a lot of sense to me. And we're talking about a half dozen QBs in the top 12 that year. You just don't see that. That's really, frankly, shocking that it worked out that way.
Usually it's like Mitch Trubisky, and then can you believe Pat Mahomes went that late? And that's your QB class. It's a lot more missed than hit.
By the numbers, I would say 6 guys in the top 12, you would expect one to be really good, one to be a solid, long-time, second contract type quarterback, and then a bunch of other scrub, bust, backup types.
Yep.
I mean, this is, when I say all-timer, I mean it. This is going to go down as one of the great quarterback drafts ever. But we wanted to talk with the Caleb Williams-led Chicago Bears coming back to town, Caleb coming home from the DMV, about Williams and Daniels for a moment. The national perception, I saw this on some shouty shows yesterday, and I was reading a column that somebody wrote about Williams closing the gap. In fact, there was a big piece on NFL Live on this yesterday as well that I think it was Peter Schrager did, where he basically talked about how so far early this year, the script has been flipped and the positivities around Caleb Williams, and now they come back to the scene of last year's derailing of the Bears season with the Hail Mary from Jayden, and he kind of ends his monologue saying, Caleb, it's your time. I'm not so sure if I agree with that, but that's how he ended the monologue. But I want to juxtapose their season so far because I've got a question for our listeners. We haven't opened up the phones yet on a Football Friday. We can do that now. But what I want to get to, Danny, is has Caleb Williams closed the gap to Daniels and these other QBs? While either Jayden, Bo Nix, whoever it is, has taken a small step back, let's say, from the unfathomably impressive years they had last year? Or is it just too early? Are we just, in Caleb's case, he's already had a bye, so he's only played 4 games. In Jayden Daniels' case, he missed 2 games with an injury. And there was an injury that hindered him in a good part of the other game. So he's played 3 games, 2 of them basically healthy. Is that enough sample? Is that enough football for us to actually make any real observations and evaluations about these guys? Because people are doing it.
Yeah.
They're saying Caleb's having the better year, Caleb's closing the gap, and it used to be 3 car lengths, and now maybe it's a car length and a half or whatever. That's what they're doing. I just don't know if we've had enough football played yet for that reasonable takeaway.
Yeah, I think both are fair. And I know that's not the hot take in industry that we're in all the time, but to me, he's on pace. This is an opinion. He's on pace for 4,000 yards, 34 touchdowns, and 8.5 picks. That's Caleb Williams. Who wouldn't take that?
By the way,
find me somebody.
If
right?
he has that year, you know who should take a bow? Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson, 100%.
That's a Ben Johnson alert if I've ever heard one.
That would certainly qualify. And he's also on pace for, 500 rushing yards, handful of touchdowns in that regard, too, using some of that playmaking.
Ben Johnson alert. Ben Johnson alert.
I was vamping.
I was just waiting.
Yeah.
Dad wasn't really picking up what I was putting down. Mm-hmm. We're out at the Char Bar in Reston. We're out and about. We're not in the studio.
Like, I've not seen Ben Johnson here.
So I can't point at Darius or get in his ears and tell him, play the Ben Johnson alert.
I didn't want to interrupt you guys while you were having conversation.
You should never not interrupt us with a Ben Johnson alert.
I mean, you could sometimes use your discretion.
Ben Johnson alert.
Now we're over Ben Johnsoning?
No, we can't over Ben Johnson.
You can. You have.
Ben Johnson alert.
See it now? Don't you see?
Remember, we got to get them all out because there's a really good chance we never get to hear it again after Sunday.
Well, there's a chance we're going to hear it a billion more times because 350 is not that big a deal.
350.
Ben Johnson
So
alert.
many.
12 teams average it. The point of the dude's story is this. Caleb Williams has closed the gap in my view. It's not ripping anybody else. The gap was enormous. It was Grand Canyon last year. He wasn't the worst of the rookies. McCarthy didn't play. That was kind of an incomplete. But Bo Nix had such a renaissance year. Drake May, did what he could with, like in a height contest. He was in a 7-foot pit. You know what I mean? Like he did everything he could with a terrible situation. I think Williams was saddled with some of that too. He bears some responsibility for it as well. But he was also in a bad spot, but nowhere near what Jayden Daniels did, of course. Nowhere near what Nix did, of course, and kind of the early returns on Penix. He has closed the gap by playing well through 4 games. Again, on pace for I don't think he gets there, but $4,000, 3,400 yards. Excuse me. 34 touchdowns, 4,000 yards, and just under 10 interceptions. That's a far cry from what he was doing last year. It's just that you've seen improved play. I think that's what matters.
So here's what's happened, okay? Caleb Williams played badly at times last year and is playing a lot better this year. The arrow is trending up. Jayden Daniels played incredibly well last year and has not played at that level at any point until the second half of the Chargers game. Again, it's not like he's played 10 games. That was 2 games in the Green Bay contest until he got hurt, basically, but which was the second game. But because of that, the arrow is trending down. So the reactions are going to be positive for Williams because it's like I got a 90 on my report card and you got an 80. But our parents, let's say we're brothers, are talking about how good your 80 was because you used to get 65s. You know what I'm saying? Like that's what this is to me. The expectation for me is that I come home with an A+. I got a B+. You're an F student. You're a D student, whatever it is, and you got a B, and I got a better B, and everyone's happy with you. That's kind of what's happening, in my opinion. But is it true that Caleb Williams has outperformed Jayden Daniels in a very small sample? Yes, absolutely. And I don't have this same fervor or disdain to acknowledge that a lot of Commanders fans do, and vice versa, Bears fans with Jayden Daniels. I'm looking at this thing from the outside in on Drake May, on Caleb Williams, on Bo Nix, and I'm ready to give flowers when it's time. I'm just watching quarterbacks, talking ball, got no issues. I still have major issues with Caleb's game that I don't have with Jayden's as it pertains to misses. Now, he's missing less frequently, but his misses can be really, really bad. Let's look at some of the numbers here. On the season, Caleb Williams is completing about 62% of passes, which is not good, by the way. Jayden Daniels, believe it or not, 59%.
It's worse, yeah.
That has been a thing this year. His accuracy has been off. Some of that is where they're pushing the ball down the field. Caleb Williams is throwing for more yards per game than Jayden Daniels, and he's got 8 touchdowns, 2 picks. Obviously, in 1 fewer game, Jayden has 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. They're both running the ball. Caleb, 24 runs in 1 more game. Jayden, 26 runs, 110 for Williams, 124 for Daniels, and Williams has a rushing touchdown. Daniels doesn't. If you actually look at some of the more telling or better metrics because they played a different number of games, the efficiency stuff, Williams' EPA per play is a little bit worse. Daniels' success rate, 49%. Williams is 45%, but as a passer, 5% better than Williams. So he's been more efficient than Caleb Williams. Williams has put up better numbers. That's how I would describe it.
I think yeah.
But is the gap closing? Yes. I have no problem with people saying that. It's when they say something like, see, Jayden's just not going to age as well, or if you redrafted today, I would take Caleb over Jayden. I think that's silly.
Yeah, I like your student analogy where one kid has never done better than a D, and he showed up with C work, and you're like, that's great. That's it. That's really nice improvement. That, to me, is the story, is that Caleb Williams isn't a disaster, right? And I said after a weird year last year where coaches were fired and they kind of had to retool and sort of start over again, way too soon to bury him. Way too soon to say, okay, the book is finished. There's too much talent here. There's too much to work with. You're basically doing a rookie 2.0 season for a guy that's been in the league for a year, right? Starting kind of everything anew with an offensive guy that should have been there last year, someone like him, in terms of an offensive mind that fit a little bit better. That was a disastrous plan that I didn't realize was that disastrous until sort of looking at it and watching them flounder and fail. But he's playing better. It's not great yet, but you see more often those elite signs. More often the pitcher throwing 100, right? Where you go, okay, He doesn't do it consistently, but I've seen enough to know that he's got it in him. You're starting to see some more and more plays get made. Yeah, buoyed by one incredible game against one of the worst defenses in human history against Dallas, but even still beyond that, he has played better football. That's the story to me, far less than it is, Daniels sliding back to the pack. No. Way too soon to kick dirt there, but it was too soon to bury Caleb Williams first. And his improved play to me is a nice sign, a nice step forward. That's where the gap is close to me.
Do you root against him?
No.
I don't either. I got heat yesterday. A Commanders fan came up to me last night and was saying, like, oh, you're basically too nice to Caleb Williams this week or something. And I'm like, what do you mean? Their basic point was, we root against Caleb Williams. Like, Jayden's our guy. I'm like, listen, man, I'm a Commanders fan, and I like Jayden. I'm a Jayden fan, too. I don't root against Caleb Williams. I don't need to. Jayden Daniels is really, really good, and he's probably better. So I feel pretty good about that. But I do think there are Commanders fans that root against Caleb Williams.
Absolutely.
I'd like him to go out and play well in a loss. Why not? He's a local DMV kid who's trying to find his way in the league, who took a lot of crap early last season. I always kind of naturally root for guys like that, too.